Hello everyone. I want to show you how you can build a blog application from scratch using Roda and Sequel, and the directory structure will be inspired from the official Hanami 2 application template. Basically, I want to show you how you can get from scratch, how you can get a directory structure that can even have benefits compared to Rails. So let's get started. I'll create a new directory, blog, and we'll start with a gem file. I'll add the Roda gem, Puma as well, and I think that's enough for now. We'll create a config file, which is needed by rec, or where rec looks by default for the application configuration. So I'll require Roda here, create a sample app, and I will also turn off notifications. I will just define a simple route for now, which prints hello world. So because this is like a rec file, I have this global run method defined there. So I'll just run the app. Yes, because I want to run it from the terminal, I also, since the rec3 now doesn't include the recup command, I would like to I need to add the recup gem. So this is new starting from rec3. So now that I have everything set up, if I run bundle exec recup, as you can see the application running in my terminal. So no, that's the Rails port. Okay, we have our hello world. So let's expand from here. Obviously, we don't want to have the whole application in the config file, so we can start separating out, branching out the application code into the directory structure, and we'll add, of course, additional functionality. The good convention that I discovered from the Hanami 2 template is the config directory with some certain key files. So what I like to define is a config boot file, which will kind of boot the whole application. I think that Rails has the same file. So here we will ensure that bundler is set up, and we'll run any initializers. It's difficult to figure it out in order. So so we will initialize. We will define Zeitwerk here. So first, I would like to configure some settings file where we'll keep the application settings, and we'll define it under config settings. And for this, I will use the dry-configurable gem. And we're going to require it here. Define a settings class and extend it with dry-configurable. Two primary things I want to define here is the root, the application root, which will be one level higher than the config directory, and I also want to convert it into a path name, and we're going to use this constructor setting. So here I need to set this as the default. And for the constructor, we're going to convert it into a path name. So this path will be this value. We're going to convert it into a path name and kind of clear it out so that it's an absolute path. And we're also going to define a reader method that allows us to, instead of having to do this, we can now just do this. And we're also going to require path name standard library. Another thing I want to define up front is the environment, the current environment. So we will grab this from rack-env and default it to development. And we're also going to define a reader method for it. So that takes care of the rudimentary settings. If we go back to our boot file, we have settings, and I also want to require, I also want to set up Zeitwerk for loading. So let's call this file loader. Let's put it in config loader. We will initialize it. We will initialize a new loader. We will push the directory, which will be so what I want to do here is I want to define the whole app in the app directory, like Rail has. So if I create the app directory, I basically want to define the whole application there. So if I move this code, if I move it into the app, I will call it router. I don't know, I just kind of prefer the name, so this will be like the entry point for all routes. And if I require this boot file here, basically I want the whole application directory to be auto-loaded so that I don't have to worry about any requires. So we will set up Zeitwerk to do just that. We will push the app directory. I can do this, but it's probably safer to make it an absolute path. So I'll use this root configuration that I declared. We're going to push the directory, the app directory. We're going to, yes, I think we're going to run setup. And I believe that should be it for Zeitwerk. Let's see if this setting now works. So if I restart, okay, initialize content app, I just forgot to rename this to router. Okay. Yes, everything still works. The next thing I want to tackle up front is making the application reloadable. So because I want, if I change this and I refresh the page, I want to be able to see the changes without having to reload the server. We will listen to some method that I kind of like to use, that seems simple, is to use the listen gem to listen for changes to a directory and then reload the code. So we'll add the listen gem to our gem file, and we're going to require it here. And so I will initialize a listener which will listen to the changes in the app directory. So only these changes will be reloadable. Only changes in the app directory. Any changes in the config directory will require to restarting the app, which is I think an okay trade-off. So we will listen to any changes in the app directory, and we will, when anything changes, we will tell Zeitwerk to reload the application. And we also need to start the listener. For this to work, we need to explicitly opt in for reloading. Enable reloading, I think, yes, that should be it. And also now, for example, also what we could do here is we can eager load in CI, for example, which is a good practice for your CI to kind of test that the whole application can be loaded, that the test suite in the CI is, that it's exercising, loading the whole app. Yeah, so let's see if this now works. I will restart the app, and then I will make some changes. We listen to the changes to the app directory. We enable reloading, we push the directory. Yes, so now this actually leads us to something something that you need to take into account if you want to enable reloading. So here, when we call run with the router class, rec will take this router class at the time of initialization, and it will keep that reference of that class. So if the router class is reloaded and replaced by a different class, rec will still hold the old reference, because it just uses this constant to take the current class object, and it will not detect changes to the new ones. So kind of like to work around that, you can run it, you just have to evaluate the router class kind of on demand through a block, and now reloading should work. So if I restart the app now and I change this, Yes, now it works. Cool, so now we have loading for our code set up, and yeah, and reloading as well. Then I guess we can slowly start building the app. Let's first create an actual HTML page. So we will, for this, we will load the render plugin of Roda for rendering views. And we're going to say that the views directory will be app views. And for that to work, we need to add the tilt gem, which Roda uses for view rendering, and also Ruby for ERB files. If let's now create first a layout file. So it will be layout ERB. We will yield the template, the actual view, and we'll, let's say we can set title, which will be blog with Roda and Sequel, and we'll also set the meta. We'll make sure we're in UTF-8. So now we have the layout file, which Roda will automatically pick up because it assumes the view with the name of layout will be the layout. And now let's create some home page. Maybe we can call it home. And I don't know. Put some HTML here. So in this root route, I will render the home page. I need to restart the app because I added some new gems. So if I reload the page, great, it works. And we can see that it also is picking up our layout file because the title is set. Great. So the next thing we can actually start. Yeah, we can start building a blog, or we can maybe add some articles. Before that, I would like to add some default styling. So I will use Bootstrap just because it's kind of easy to get started with, though I personally prefer Tailwind. Let's just for simplicity we will pull them from the CDN, or I can just use this. So we're pulling Bootstrap from CDN, and if I reload the page, we can see the styling changed, so that worked. We can define like a /articles section of routes, and if we define the root route, we will be rendering some articles. So let's call this articles index. So if I define a template, articles index, then we will print some articles here. So if I go to articles, then that works. What I actually wanted to do here is that I wanted to maybe define some layout or some kind of basic layout. So we will wrap this into a container so that we get some margin, and I would also like to define some nav bar. Let's copy this code. Can just use the button, and we'll call the partial navbar. We can, if we want the underscoring to work automatically, we can even use Rodauth, I think it's partials plugin. So this will make sure that the partials are underscored, but yeah, I guess I will use it. Well, why not? Partials. So we will call this partial, and so it will be the underscored. We'll paste in what we copied from the Bootstrap file, and we will point the main link to the home page. Let's call it home, or maybe let's call it blog. And we will define some navigation links, which let's also define a home page here, or a link to the home page here. Let's remove this form for now, so we will only have the navigation links. So it will point to the home page, and we will display active only if request path is the home page. Yes, what I also like to do here is maybe use container, yes, so that it matches, and maybe also some border, bottom border. Wait, how do you? Border bottom. Yeah. Just kind of to differentiate it, and I don't know, maybe also add some more margin. Yeah, I think that's good enough. So we are on the home page, and if I go to the articles page, we can see that the home, we have the detection of the active link. So that's the navbar. So now we have some basic layout that we can work with. Let's get back to building articles. So if I go to the, let's actually add a link to the article section. Let's also remove this area. Well, I think that needs to be just set on the currently active page. So we add a link to articles, and now we can browse the articles page, and we can even do this a bit more, Railsy. So if in the router I loaded the link to plugin, I can use the link to helper, which will be, so I can write it like this. And also home. And the same for articles. You can see everything still works. And I can go even further, and if I want to, for example, reference these route paths via like some routing helpers, I can go ahead and define that as well with via the path plugin. So I can say, so the route path will be, the slash will be called the route path. I believe that's the correct syntax. And articles like this. So if I go back here, I should be able now to reference this via route path. And yes, everything still works. Okay, so I think now this is Railsy enough. Let's start actually adding articles. So we want, in the articles page, we want to be able to create them in the database and load them from the database as well. So let's set up a database. I will add the SQL gem to the gem file, and for simplicity, let's use SQLite. And we'll also use SQL tools for defining the rake tasks. Cool. Now we want to connect SQL to the database in an initializer. So we will, in the config boot, we will add we will load relative to the current directory. We will load initializers and just require them. The reason why I'm loading initializers here exactly is because I want them to have the settings, the application settings, but I don't want any. I don't want them to be able to reference any application file, so any app in the app directory, because those should be reloadable. So this is actually, Rails also forbids you now, I believe, to in the initializers file to reference any autoloadable class. So here I just want to prevent developers from like shooting themselves in the foot. So we're just going to not make any of the autoloaded classes available by initializing Zeitwerk only afterwards. So I will define a SQL initializer, and we will we will connect it to an SQLite database. And let's define the database URL in our settings. So I will call settings database URL, and then we will define it back in our settings. We will define database URL and default it to SQLite, and let's create a DB directory, and maybe, yeah, let's call it via the env. So whatever the current environment is, we'll just call it like this. So that's how Rails does it, I believe. And we'll also define a reader method for it. To test that this works, let's see if we have a valid connection to the database. I'll print out inspect the SQL database object, and we'll restart the app. Yeah, actually that I might need to escape this. Yes, okay. So it seems that it works. Next, we'll want to set up migrations to be able to actually to modify the schema. And we will use the SQL tools gem from Rosenfeld, which defines rake tasks automatically. A common rake test that you might be used to from Rails. So we've added it already to the gem file. Let's create a rake file where we will define the tasks. First, we'll make sure that bundler is set up. Then we'll require just the settings. By default, we don't want to require boot because that will load the whole application, and we don't want to have application files available in our migrations. Migrations should not use application files because they should remain backwards compatible as the application changes. So we will define just the settings, which is the bare minimum. And we'll also require the SQL tools gem. So SQL tools, with SQL tools we first require the base configuration, which we will store in a variable, and currently we need to pass the root, the project root, so we'll just pass our application root, and it requires us to initialize the database adapter, database name, and also username and password. We will kind of read that from the URL for now, from the database URL. And we will use actually SQL to do that. So we will require SQL, and we don't want to actually connect to the database. That's why I'm not just loading the SQL initializer, because these rake tasks also should work when there is also the rake db create and rake db drop command, which should which won't work if we attempt to connect to the database, because in this case it might not exist, and in db drop I think it's missing, and the db drop command will it requires that there isn't any that there aren't any active connections. So we will repeat the connection ourselves, but we will just use SQL to kind of extract the database information from the URL. We will repeat this part, database URL, but we will ask SQL not to test the connection, so that it doesn't actually connect to the database, and that it doesn't create a reference in the SQL databases. So that means that this database object will not be stored anywhere. Normally, if I connect to some database, then SQL stores the databases object in this global databases array, which is then inferred automatically when creating SQL models. But we want to avoid that, so for just in case we decide not to keep the reference. So now that we have the database object, we can read the adapter from it. So we can use anything that SQL inferred from it. I guess host will, we can also define host, but we don't need it for now. So this is the base config. Yes, database. I believe that we have now everything, and we will define the rake tasks in the DB namespace. So I will tell SQL tools to inject the rake tasks using this base config and pass itself. I believe if I inspect the rake task, yes, so I have the rake task defined, and let's test that it works by creating an actual migration. So I first need to make the DB migrations directory, create it, because that's what SQL tools will use by default. And then I can go ahead and define a new migration. Let's say create articles. And we need to escape it for ZSH. I need to figure out how not to treat these square brackets, as how to tell ZSH to ignore them. Great, the create articles migration was created, and I'll create an articles table. I'll create table articles, which will have a primary key. It will have title, body, and maybe some timestamps. And updated that. Created that and updated that. Let's see if we can create this table. So if I run rakedb migrate, unable to open database file. Yes, so Yeah, so I believe that SQL Tools doesn't currently handle SQLite database as well. So let's just use Postgres for now. We will go into our settings file and we will define Postgres, and let's say that we call it blog, maybe also blog development by default, or yeah. So if I now run rake db create, now I need to replace the SQLite with PG, SQLite 3gem with the PG gem. Let's try to create the database now. Yes, I believe it worked. And if I run the migration, I also believe it works, but I cannot see anything, so because logs are disabled by default. So I actually like to set log level to enable migration logging and to also enable SQL logging. Yes, so if I now roll back, you can see it works. It rolled back the migration, dropping the articles table, and if I migrate again, it migrated the database. So the articles table should now be there, and let's create an article model to reference article SQL model to communicate with it. So it will be in app models article. And we can reference it here. Actually, by default, the way that we set Zeitwerk, because it's in the models directory, it will assume that it's searching for the application for this class. If I want to remove any namespaces, I need to tell Zeitwerk to collapse any directory in the app. So I believe this should work. So we have article model, and in our router we can initialize we can retrieve articles and just display them on the page. I believe we need to restart the Rails server because we changed gems. Okay, so we didn't receive any errors and we are receiving empty articles. So that works. What is the next thing? We want to create an actual form for creating articles. Before that, just so that I don't forget, we created these timestamps, but SQL will not use them by default. It will actually use them if we enable the timestamps plugin. Yeah, so now if let's also create, while we're here, let's also create some rake console task. We'll create it in the end, which will just boot our application. So here we will require the whole application, ERB, and ERB requires us to clear any arguments. It's just something that's needed. And I believe this should work. So if I run Ray console, yes, I now have I can now reference any class. So now if I create an article through the console, it works, and we can retrieve it from here. And if I update it, we can see that the timestamp was changed. So the timestamps work. In order to build a form, okay, so we will first define a route for a new article. So let's call it articles new. Just to kind of illustrate the routing. So this will route any /articles routes. This will be get articles the root path, and this will be get articles new. So we will say let's define a path for the new articles, and we will define a link to new article. Maybe new article path. So now we have the new article button, and the new article path will render the articles new view. So in order now to build a form, we don't have any Rails form helpers by default, so we could use you could just build form like this, but there is actually a gem for building forms, also by the author of Jeremy Evans, also by the author of Roda and Sequel, which actually gets pretty close to simple form, and at least has the convenience of the Rails form helpers. So we'll add that. And for that, we want to make the form secure, we need CSRF protection. And for CSRF, we need sessions. So let's enable all of that. First, we'll enable the sessions plugin, which provides cookie-based sessions. We will specify the secret to be a secret key. So we'll define that here. We'll just generate a random string. It needs to be 64 characters long, at least. So we will set it here. And obviously we don't want to have secrets encoded in our application. So let's tackle that now. We will use the dotenv gem to load the sensitive settings from the .env files. Let's add the .env gem, which we will require here, and yeah, and we will load the just this will work for now. So we'll load the .env file and we'll of course add it to the git ignore alongside gemfile.log. Now in our env file we will define the secret key, which will be this what we generated, and database URL. I believe we can use other environment variables here, so but actually yeah, let's not do that. I'll just default to development. So we will then, this will load them in this will load the file into environment to the env, so we will fetch it here. Okay, so that takes care of secrets. So we have the sessions file and we've enabled that because we want CSRF protection and we need CSRF protection for submitting forms. So we will load the we will load Forme integration. So that's the integration for this gem, which uses this route CSRF. And the difference between this implementation and the one from Rails is that this one uses form-specific tokens. So you don't have so instead of having a global token, a CSRF token, which can be used by any form, you have form-specific ones for that specific endpoint, which is apparently more secure. So we'll just use this recommended settings. And this form route CSRF, that's, I think the Forme set plugin requires a secret. Yeah, so let's this should be enough for now. We will also, so this loads the Roda integration for Forme, and let's also load the SQL integration. I believe it's just Forme. And let's try to actually now create a form. So in the articles new, we will say form to the, we will initialize a new article here. Form to this article, and it will lead to the action of articles path with a method of post. Yes, and to the method of post, and it will have a title input, body, which I believe is, if I say type text or as text area, should hopefully work. And we will have a submit button, create article, which will have the but primary button, which will be a primary button. If I now, so we have secret key. Yes, we need to restart the application because we've changed the configuration. Go to the new articles. We have some form. It looks ugly as hell. So we just need to now style it with Bootstrap. The first thing I would like is that all inputs have a div wrapper. This will now make it every input will be in the new file, and now we need to say to the input, I believe it needs to be input control, form control, sorry, form control, yes, form control. Now let's remind ourselves. Okay, so there is a label attribute. So the label class needs to be form label. Yeah, I think that was set. Yeah, I would still don't like that the input is defined inside the label. I forgot how to change it because we want the label to be outside. That's how it works. Let's look at label options. I think it's labeler. Yeah, so there is where the tag is the child of the label tag. Yes, so this is what is the default, and we want the one where the tag is a sibling of the input tag is a sibling on the label tag. So let's define that globally here. I believe we can even define some default options on the Forme level so that we don't have to repeat it. On the gem level. I think it was default config. So I would like to change the default. I don't want to register a new configuration. I'll quickly jump into the source code. There's default config. Yeah, no, I will just say, yeah, I will figure it out later. I believe it's possible, but I'll figure it out. Yeah, so now we have it. And I also, yeah, let's add it here to the text area. I think the text area needs a different class. Text area. No, form control. Okay. So that's the class of form control. And label class of form label. Cool. And then we'll also make some spacing between those. So I will say wrapper attributes. So to the wrapper class, we will say margin bottom, wrapper margin bottom, and I believe the submit button, I don't think it has a wrapper. Ah, it has. So let's also. Yeah, you could extract this in like default configuration for Bootstrap, but the currently built-in one, it supports Bootstrap 3 only. So, and we're using Bootstrap 5, so I just chose to, for now, to kind of generate it, to set it directly. So, okay, we have, I think, now correct Bootstrap classes, and I want to get rid of this required. I think that's yeah, I think if I just say required false, I think, yeah, it will remove them. I mean, it means that the required attribute won't be set on the fields, I believe. But yeah, we're gonna live with it for now. We want to use server-side validations anyways. Okay, now we have a form, and if we submit to it, yeah, there is no route for that. Let's see if it's using actually the correct, yeah, it's using method post. Let's now define this route. So it will be post articles, so that will be post articles. And so now we will use actually a nice technique. We could use this params post, or we can call the load the plugin params plugin so that we can just do this. We could do this, but we will we will be vulnerable to mass assignment, because there is the user can, an attacker could set fields that we don't want them to set. And traditionally, like SQL has set fields, which allows you to specify explicitly which fields you want to set. But there is even a more convenient way, which is to use the Forme set plugin, which it records the fields that were generated in the form and generates a signature from those fields. And then the submission from this form, it allows setting only the fields that were generated in the form. So basically, by default, the user can only set the fields that you have generated, which is pretty cool. So we will load this plugin, and it requires setting a secret. So we'll just use the same secret. So this will be used for generating that signature. And now the way that it works is that we initialize a new article. We call Forme set. Yeah, we can actually even just call it like this, Forme set, and it will automatically, I guess, extract the parameters, which is great, and then we can create that article. We will add the validations later. For now, we just wanna, and we will redirect to the articles page. Let's see if this works. Yeah, we'll remove this plugin. We don't need it for now. So the title, body. No, Forme set. Yeah. Yes. Forme set data parameter is not submitted. I've seen this error before. Oh, okay. Maybe I need to just refresh the page. Crap, I forgot what was the... Yeah, I will look in one other application that has this working. Yeah, so Forme set, Forme route CSRF. And yeah, I believe it uses exactly like pretty much the same syntax we were using here. So I know for a fact that works. I'll see what are the... So we have our CSRF token. Yes, but we don't have this signature that should be generated. I'll try restarting the app just in case. Maybe that will help. That's CSRF. Maybe it's the order of plugins, which would be a bit unfortunate. Maybe. So if I submit the title, it will still be missing. Forme set data parameter is not submitted. Not sure. So if I open this app, I will stop the server and I'll open the budget app. And if I look at the form, so there's the CSRF token, yes, and there is this Forme set data. So this is what we need. This is what the forms need to include. And here, yes, it's not there. Maybe. I believe it's the SQL plugin. Yeah, I think it also needs to be Forme set. Yeah. So if I check it, yeah, it's also Forme set. Okay. Yeah, maybe that would be nice if I was warned about it. So if I restarted the app. Yeah, I believe this should also work. Okay, that will probably make it easier. Yes, so now we have this. Okay, cool. If I create an article, so I do need to use the multi-line form. So here I initialize the article, I set params for the article, and I save it. Cool. Let's submit it. Title body. Cool, okay. We have our new article now. And let's actually add a flash message. We want to add a flash message when it was created, but let's first render the article somehow better. So we will say for each article we want to render, I don't know, h2. This will be, yeah, I think, yeah, we don't have an h1. Okay, so this will be h1 articles, this will be h2. Title, and the paragraph will be body, and they will be separated somehow or between each other. Yeah, it's a bit better, but maybe separate it here. Yeah, let's remove this. I don't like it. separate it here. Okay, this will be good enough for now. So we have articles, we will add some actions later. But for now I would like to add a flash message for when an article is created. So we will load the flash plugin and set a flash message. Flash notice article has been created, and we will render them. And create a flash partial, and yeah, I believe I need to reference them with string keys for now, which is not great, but yeah. So alert success, flash notice, and we'll also have a flash error. Just to check if I'm not missing something. Yeah, okay, yeah, there's turbo, but we'll add that later, or maybe we'll add it so that when we add turbo we will just disable caching of those flash messages. Yes, I will surely forget. So that's the flash notice and flash error. If I now create a new article, yes, there's our flash message. Okay. So now we have viewing, creating, I guess updating and deleting. We will have an update button, which will, or edit, which will go to the edit article path for that article, and we'll have a class of, we'll have a button, let's say warning, and we'll define this path, and this one will actually accept an article. Wait, what is the correct syntax? Path plugin. So this one will accept an article. So we will say like this. Article, and it will generate articles, article ID, edit. So that's the edit article path. We will retrieve, yes, but that's on the, so we will say, okay, that's, so this is on some kind of ID prefix, and one of the pages will be edited. So we will first here retrieve the article, so that we will retrieve it for all paths. And for the edit page, we will do nothing, just render the articles edit path, edit view. Yeah, I think I will stop here. I think this is, for me, it's enough, and for viewers, definitely. So for now, we have some basic conveniences set up. We have a form library, we have a database set up, rake tasks for migrations and other things, path helpers, code auto loading and reloading, and some settings and secrets. Yeah, I think this is enough for now. I will probably continue in the future stream to just finish the whole thing. Okay, bye bye.